Hello everybody, MegaZardX here, back at it again to give y'all another very exciting video. And today, as of the time of this video is dropping out here on the channel, I don't want to set out any SOS alarms, you know, ring the sirens, bring up the fire trucks or whatnot, throw the ambulance. I don't want to set no panic attacks. You don't got to go over there making no smoke signals or anything like that. But on March the 27th, the eShop will be shutting down for the Wii U and 3DS shops. Yes, you can still re-download all the games you have previously purchased, but you won't be able to go out and make any more purchases. So here today in this video, I want to give y'all my MegaZardX Selects. Games that I will highly recommend based on games that I have gone through and played, or games I just kind of been noticing that are kind of going up in that physical value, or some of these games don't even have physical releases, at least here in North America or maybe Europe. Depends on region to region though. So yes, based upon availability, prices on the secondary market and whatnot though, these are just the games that I would just want to highly recommend and just let that be out there, so that way y'all can't come running and saying you didn't mention about X, Y, and Z. And for everybody that watches this video, make sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section down below for any other games that I did not manage to recommend in this video though. But that's what I'm going to be going over in today's video. So if you haven't already done so, make sure you're going to hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into this video. Hold it, MegaZardX, you can't even add funds into the eShop for the 3DS or Wii U anymore. What are you even on right now? Hey, I got an answer for all y'all. And if you stick around to the very tail end of the video, I will show y'all how to add funds to your 3DS and Wii U. There is a workaround way, but just work with me. I'll tell you at the very end of the video. All right, so the first one I want to start off with is the Wii U. I'll start with the Wii U games first, then I'll go ahead and transition over to the 3DS, since the 3DS has a much bigger market in terms of games in comparison to the Wii U, because the Wii U just wasn't selling that well. So start off Wii U, then go over to 3DS. So before I get into those Wii U games, I'm not going to mention a lot of, GBA games, because luckily, and Game Boy games for respective for the Wii U and 3DS, because thankfully the most recent Nintendo Direct has revealed that yes, that's coming to the Switch Online expansion pack, and the basic tier. So we don't have to die hard to get some of those Game Boy and GBA games. I will point out a few notable mentions though, but don't fret, because a lot of those could come over there to the server. So we'll go ahead and start off with the regular Wii U digital titles though. So first up on my list, I have Wind Waker as well as Twilight Princess. Yes, honestly, I know everybody and their mama's been waiting for those Wii U ports to get over there, because it's like one of the few Wii U ports we had not gotten yet on the Switch though. But I'm thinking at this point in the game, where we're currently at with the Switch's lifespan, I feel like those games just might not make the jump, especially considering how Tears of the Kingdom's coming out this year. They usually like to drop at least one Zelda game per year, so I don't honestly see it making it out on this console. But who knows, the successor may possibly have it, but it will probably be a while until we might possibly get these brought back up to a modern console again. So hey, while it's still available, I would highly recommend doing that, because even that, the physical version for Wind Waker, it's starting to make its price up there on that secondary market. I was just checking eBay a while ago. It's already still selling at that premium 60, and I've seen some people selling it a little more than that though. So hey, if you hadn't gone through and played through those games, I played Twilight Princess, so I'm good on that. I will probably need to go ahead and pick up Wind Waker while I'm at it as well. Next up, I want to mention DLC. Yes, this DLC technically would apply with any game that has been on Wii U or 3DS though, but in particular, I want to highly recommend picking up that Wii U DLC for Smash Brothers on the Wii U, because in that one you had stages as well as characters. While yes, all the characters have necessarily made the jump already to Smash Brothers Ultimate, not necessarily all the stages, because keep in mind, not every single stage has been ported already over to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So you might want to keep that in mind. Just go through and make sure you purchased or re-download all of those DLC packs for all those games. Next up on my list, I had Paper Mario Color Splash. Yes, I know for some people it didn't rub them necessarily the right way, but I guess in comparison to what we got previously on the 3DS with Sticker Star, which that is not a game I am recommending for y'all to get. I'm just leaving that out there though. But I had heard there was like a decent bit of charm and whatnot though, and it is a Wii U game. I feel like out of the small list of stuff, I don't see that coming and being ported over to any other future system anytime relatively soon, especially considering how much it uses the Wii U gamepad. So they have to completely like, break that down and rebuild it back up from the ground level in order to give that to us. So if you're a diehard Paper Mario fan, you might want to pick that one up. Next up on the list, I have Xenoblade Chronicles X. Now, this one right here, well, I guess it's not your mainline Xenoblade Chronicles with like 1, 2, and 3. With X, it is a side one, but I would highly recommend picking this one up. The reason being is that I really remember from like a lot from the developers' interviews and stuff like that, it will be really hard for them to be able to port this over to the Switch or even a successor to the next system, maybe. But the big kicker is, even if they don't, there is a data pack thing that you can download as DLC that actually helps run the game a little bit better, because this game was massive back on the Wii U though. However, when the eShop closes down, you won't be able to actually purchase that DLC, even though it's technically free. You won't be able to actually download that if you never downloaded it before. So I would highly recommend, even if you hadn't even bought Xenoblade Chronicles X, just go out there and purchase the DLC, so that way it's registered underneath your account. So if you even happen to buy it from the secondary market like eBay or something like that in the future, at least you'll be able to go back, buy that game, and then you can just download the DLC, because that actually helps load the game faster, run the game a little bit faster, because that game was a little stiff. So it is going to be kind of unfortunate for those that happen to pick up this game later on in the future and they just have the poor running version of Xenoblade Chronicles X. Now, last up in terms of the brand new Wii U games I have on this list is NES Remix 1 and 2. This one kind of was like a weird, quirky game where it took a lot of our classic NES games like Mario Brothers, The Legend of Zelda, Kirby, and put a little spin and interesting twists like Excitebike and whatnot though. Switch characters around, changed certain elements about it, just made it weird and wacky, but gave it a brand new twist that kind of made it feel pretty new. So yeah, so if you hadn't already done so, I highly recommend picking up those two games, because I feel like they're going up in that secondary market as well though. And honestly, I think 1, we managed to have that one physical. I think 2 was only digital download only though. So yeah, there are a little bit of differences. I know there's some different versions also for the 3DS, which I'll reiterate a little later on in the video though, but just kind of keep all of that in mind as well. All right, so now that I got all of my Wii U games out the way, ones that are just kind of native, just a flat out new game for that system though, obviously the big main kicker is Virtual Console. That's like the main drawing point of probably the Wii U just in general though. And I did have a list of GBA games I would highly recommend, but Nintendo hit us with that news that GBA is now on Nintendo Switch Online. So I felt like a lot of them are like, we already have easy, accessible ways that you might already have access to already, such as there's like Mario Kart Super Circuit already on there, The Legend of Zelda Minish Cap, as well as Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. So a lot of those, I felt like, we have ways, so I'm not going to really kind of reiterate on them, although you can kind of scroll through and see all the GBAs on the Wii U Virtual Console if you happen to be one of the few that own that system, if you want to, own them for yourself and not rely on an online service where they could take it from us in any minute though. But one I did want to emphasize was Super Mario Advance for Super Mario Brothers 3, which yes, we do have that one on the Switch Online though, but if you want to have that one for your own self to have as a digital copy, you might as well go ahead and do it. I think I actually managed to pick that one up before I had the news of the GBA thing coming to the Switch Online service though, so that was just one I kind of really wanted to highlight right there. All right, so next, I think the next biggest thing I want to say with the Virtual Console side of things is DS games, because if you think about it, the Wii U gamepad, with it having, 2 screens between the tablet and the TV itself, it just suited the DS perfectly. But I think going forward, you saw with the Switch, it's just one screen, and I think everything beyond it, unless they come back to dual screens at some point in the future, it might be very hard to be able to have DS games run natively with its dual screen option as a viable option for you to run on any modern console, Switch or beyond. So I'm thinking the DS games are the critical ones that you might want to hit, because it might be a really long time until we have access to playing those games again. And at the top of my list, I have Shadow Dragon. Yes, I know some people aren't really particularly fond of, playing through that game because If you literally look at the battle animations, they look a little bit rough though, but it is our only way physically, and it was like one of the first versions of us having that first game in the Fire Emblem series, localized for us over there in the West though. Unfortunately, then, they made a remake of the third game in the series, which is kind of retelling of the first one though, but that one stayed in Japan, and that was on the DS though. But at least for us here in America and Europe and whatnot though, that's all we had was Shadow Dragon on the DS. So if you want to have that added to the collection of your Fire Emblem fan, you can go ahead and do that. Next up, I will say is Advance Wars Dual Strike. Now, this one right here, I was like, you know what? Because we know we have an Advance Wars game coming out in the distant horizon where you're going to be able to play through the first two remade on the Switch, and it's coming out here fairly soon, literally within like the next couple of months. However, if you happen to be a fan of the Advance Wars games, and there's not really a lot of Advance Wars games out there, there's one on the DS, and you can get it on there on the Wii U Virtual Console. I highly recommend picking this one up because it might be a while until we might see that one be brought back into the limelight. Next up, I want to say Pokemon Ranger 1, 2, and 3. This, if you don't buy any single DS game up on this thing, this better be the one that you get right here. Because, oh shoot, my whole childhood right there was based on, like, that was the one Pokemon spinoff for me personally. That was it right there though. Just going around, just making those loops around those Pokemon, having a very interesting, uniqueness, being a ranger, instead of you actually catching them with Pokeballs, you literally, draw loops around them, you befriend them, use them to actually clear out challenges, clear obstacles out the way, help assist with you capturing another Pokemon and whatnot though. There was 3 on the DS, with the first one, Shadows of Almia, as well as Guardian Signs though. Phenomenal games. I highly recommend you to pick up those games because, my gosh, those are some really solid games. Now, this one right here, you can get it if you want to, but I feel like they might come to the Switch or the successor to the Switch eventually, and that would have been the Metroid Prime Trilogy. It was a game I would highly recommend getting at first, but now we just got the news that you can buy, Metroid Prime, the original one, remastered now on the Switch though. So if you wanted to kind of have the old traditional style of the Wii, because you can kind of replicate the little point sensor kind of gyro-ish with the Joy-Cons though, but it ain't quite the same without having that sensor bar there, because the recalibration and whatnot, it just automatically did that with the Wii version though. So yeah, if you want to have the classic versions, or maybe you just were really fond of the Wii controls and how they operate, you can get those, just in case if for some reason they didn't bring Metroid Prime 2 or 3 to the Switch. But I feel like now they're probably going to remaster all 3 though, so I just want to give that little bit of nod for that right there for y'all Metroid fans. And last up, I would say Mario Strikers Charge. Now, it's weird because we literally had Mario Strikers Battle League on the Switch. It was okay. The gameplay itself, fundamentally, is sound, but in terms of the lacking content as well as the lackluster online features, like you can't even do a true 4v4 whatnot though. If you really like Mario Strikers, I know there's a lot of fans out there that like the GameCube version. I have that version as well as Battle League, but Mario Strikers Charge, that's one I actually don't have for myself though. I heard a lot of good things about it. So if you like Mario Strikers series and you haven't, or maybe you're kind of curious about it, you might as well go ahead and pick that one up too. All right, so now that we got the Wii U out of the way in terms of the original games on Wii U as well as Virtual Console ones, now it's time to dive into the big beast, that being the Nintendo 3DS. Because there's a lot of games, before we even jumped into the Virtual Console side, a lot of games where I just wanted to talk about all the stuff that's, we got actual games for the 3DS on, and including some ones, I was trying to avoid a lot of the mega hitters, because like your Mario Kart 7s or whatnot though, your Mario 3D Lands, almost everybody and their mama probably already has those. So I was sticking to some that I personally really like, but weren't like super mega hitters like that. So first off, let's go ahead and start with the third parties, and then we'll go ahead and transition to the first party though. But in terms of third party games, Ace Attorney 4, 5, and 6, that being Apollo Justice, Dual Destinies, and Spirit of Justice, those are ones I highly recommend y'all going through and picking them up, because apparently only Ace Attorney 4 was the only one that had a physical version, at least for us over here in America, because 5 and 6 were like digital only, which was super odd in itself though. Hopefully at some point Capcom, y'all give us that trilogy of 4, 5, 6. We really need it. think it was even in those Capcom Gigalies or something like that back in the day though. But yes, please give us that. But at least for now, those original versions are going to be, you know, unplayable in terms of you being able to get them out legally. Yes, technically there are mobile games, but I like playing my stuff on the console, whatnot though. So yeah, so honestly, if you hadn't picked up 4, 5, and 6, you might as well go ahead and do it. I was literally procrastinating myself. I need to pick those up, so I'll probably pick those up as soon as I'm done with this video right here. Next up on the list, I have Soul Hackers, the original Soul Hackers. And while I'm at it, you might as well go ahead and pick up anything that was Shin Megami Tensei related. So Shin Megami Tensei 4, Devil Summoner, Soul Hackers, and I think there's like a couple or a few other ones. If you're just like a Shin Megami fan in general though, you might as well go ahead and pick all those up, because in terms of you picking those up in the secondary market physically, oh shoot, those things are really expensive though. So yeah, I think I might have my eye over there on Soul Hackers, the original one, because I do have Soul Hackers 2. I need to play that on my PS5 though. But yeah, I just want to give y'all a heads up for y'all Shin Megami Tensei fans or aspiring fans that want to be. Make sure you grab these games, because it's going to cost you an arm and a leg to get these things physical after this shop shuts down. And while I'm on the topic of Shin Megami Tensei, that also applies to Persona Q as well as Persona Q2. For the longest time, we never had Joker there on the Switch. The only way you were getting it on the Nintendo console was via the 3DS though. But luckily, we have Persona 5 Royal now on the Switch, as well as like Persona 4 Golden and Persona 3 Portable as well though. So yeah, so if you like all your mashup between all your different Persona characters, make sure to go ahead and pick these games up though, because they're actually getting fairly expensive as well on that secondary market. Now, I already mentioned about this game with the Wii U games, but the NES remix, there was a version over there for the 3DS as well for like that first game though. So if you happen to like your preference of playing on the 3DS, or you just want to be a fan that owns a Wii U and the 3DS one, or maybe you don't own the Wii U, so the 3DS is all you got, I would still recommend you picking up NES remix right there. All right, now next up on the list, I have a couple of Square Enix games, that being Dragon Quest VII as well as Dragon Quest VIII. If you loved, or if you even played Dragon Quest XI's and you think you're going to be into the series like that, you might as well pick these up, because Dragon Quest XI's for me was a phenomenal game, and I kind of want to go back and play some of the other Dragon Quest games. I already picked up Dragon Quest VIII, and I probably will pick up Dragon Quest VII as well though, because if you miss out on buying these games, you be ready to pay a hefty penny though, because the average, like on eBay when I was just looking this up, is literally like 70 bucks case and box on Dragon Quest VII. Dragon Quest VIII is well over 100 bucks plus. I'm seeing like listings for like 110, 120 up there, case and box. A lot of them are just selling them like loose copies or whatnot though. So yeah, if you have any kind of aspirations to play Dragon Quest VII along with Dragon Quest VIII, I highly recommend you picking this up off of the eShop before the shop shut down. All right, so now that I got some third-party games out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into some first-party games, and maybe some first-party games that you might not heard about, or you vaguely heard about and barely gave it the time of day. First one on the list is the Dylan Rolling Western series. Yes, that being Dylan Rolling Western, Dylan's Rolling Western The Last Ranger, as well as Dylan Rolling Western Dead Heat Breakers. Those are 3 phenomenal games that are absolutely beloved by me, which is very close to my heart though. It's literally you going through playing as an armadillo, it's a tower defense game where you're trying to go through, build up your towers to defeat the Groks that are trying to invade on certain towns, where they're trying to bust up your towers, bust up your defenses, and ultimately make their way to your town's food source supply and whatnot though. So you're literally trying to defend the towns in all 3 of these respective games. There was changes between the first and the second one. It wasn't like a lot of different changes though, but that third one felt like a full-on blowout change compared to the first 2 games that you had in the series though. And literally in terms of these, you can't really pick them up physical. I think you can technically pick up the 3rd game in the series physical if you're over there in Europe though, but at least for us all in North America, all of these are digital. So yes, the eShop is the only way to get these though. So if there's one to pick out of here, one that you might not heard about, it's one I highly recommend, that Dylan's Rolling Western. Between all 3 of these games, I highly suggest you pick these ones up. Now let's go ahead and talk about some Pokemon games. Not necessarily games in and of itself, but things or applications that help with the transferring of Pokemon. Yes, I'm talking about Poke Transporter as well as Pokemon Bank. Now, Poke Transporter allowed you to be able to transfer your Pokemon from Pokemon Gen 5, that being your Pokemon Black, White, Black 2, and White 2, up into Pokemon Bank, where you're able to kind of mess around with your Pokemon, send them to any Gen 6 or Gen 7 titles though. Now, I would say make sure you pick up that along with Pokemon Bank, which is the the bank application storing all your Pokemon up. Make sure you pick up both of these two because once the eShop goes down, you won't be able to necessarily go back and re-download them unless you already picked them up previously. Because the good news is once the eShop shuts down, these are going to be essentially roll over to free to play. Because right now you have to pay the subscription fee for it though, but literally in a month's time, it's gonna be all completely free to use. So you can freely put your Pokemon in the bank, use it as an application, then send them over there to home so you can use them in Pokemon generations 8 and 9 if you so choose to though. So yeah, so those, make sure you disclaim them even if you think that you might not even use them. Obviously I feel like if you're a Pokemon fan out there, it's a no-brainer. Make sure you get this thing though. But yeah, those are just a couple of reminders that I wanted to give you right there. Now, for all y'all rhythm fans out there, yes, I couldn't go without mentioning Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix, which this is a game which, if you like your rhythm games, hey, I think this one was actually only digital only over here, at least for us here in North America though. So if you're a fan of the Rhythm Heaven series, maybe you didn't pick up the one on the 3DS, you might as well go ahead and grab that one out there though, because I can only imagine how expensive this game might truly be here in the next upcoming months or over a year from now, whenever the only way how you're gonna be able to do it is through notorious other means, because this is basically a digital only title. Now let's get into some real meat and potatoes, because I'm literally about to talk about the best game that's literally on this freaking system right here. And y'all better wake up now. Y'all better stay woke, because this one right here is the one to get. If you only pull one game away from my whole entire list, you better pick this game up or you better already have it. That being Kid Icarus Uprising. Yes, I know the controls are a little bit wacky, the way how you have to hold it up with like one hand, and either lean it up here on your knee or something like that, maybe playing on a table, whatnot though. I know the controls are a little bit wacky. I really do want this game remade, brought to the Switch or some other future Nintendo console though. But this was the game that I literally felt like defined the 3DS in terms of like its 3D atmosphere. You flying through the sky, shooting different enemies and whatnot though. Then having those ground segments, doing all them rolls and stuff like that, shooting, doing melee attacks like that. Literally the game is made by Sakurai, who makes Smash Brothers. That is enough said right there. He did a phenomenal job directing this game in every aspect of the game. The voice acting is top notch. I just love the commentary you're always giving within doing your missions and stuff like that, where you're talking to Palutena or you're talking to Viridian and whatnot though, and then the inclusion of Dark Pit up in there, it's just really nice. It's one of my most favorite Nintendo 3DS games, and I highly can't recommend it enough. I know it's not like a digital only, you can pick it up physically as well though, but if you just want the nice easy convenience of picking it up digitally, I would highly recommend it. All right, I'm done with my sermon, my goodness. All right, next up on my list is Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, which, yes, if you're a fan of the Luigi's Mansion series, we do have Luigi's Mansion 3 on the Switch, and you can play the original Luigi's Mansion also on the 3DS. You can also pick that one up as well though, but Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is exclusive to Nintendo 3DS though, and you know how I'm saying with those dual screens and whatnot though, I just think they'll have to completely rework this game and bring it over to modern consoles if they want to have this one done. So if you want to make sure you still have access to playing every game in the series, you might want to pick it up digital, because I don't know exactly how much the cost is over there on the secondary markets though, but it could go up given a little bit of time. Now let's go ahead and jump back on that DLC train right here though, because at least for the DLC, I would say right here, for Super Smash Bros. 3DS, and I already mentioned this already before with the Wii U version as well though, but with the 3DS one, obviously there's a bunch of characters that if you don't buy them now, along with the stages, because not every single stage is in Smash Bros. Ultimate, especially since considering there's some exclusive stages that are on Wii U, and there's exclusive stages that is on 3DS. There's even one that was literally from, I believe it was basically from Fire Emblem, the Fire Emblem series. In particular, I think it was from Fire Emblem Awakening. It was like one of my most favorite stages playing on the 3DS one, but it wasn't necessarily on the Wii U one though. So yeah, so make sure to pick up all of those different things up in there though, because Smash 4 won't be necessarily complete ever again if you don't manage to pick up some of these DLC packs right here. Now, while we're on the topic of DLC, we might as well keep rolling on this train though, because also there is some DLC packs for Fire Emblem Awakening as well. If you're a completionist and you want to have every single map, where it can also kind of feature off some other characters throughout the series history, whatnot, with its DLC stages, as well as maps and characters and stuff like that, you might as well go ahead and pick up these ones right here. I don't think I actually own all of the DLC myself personally, so I'll probably take a dive back to the eShop, see what all there is to offer though, because if you want a completionist and you're one of those people that want to have everything there is to offer in Fire Emblem Awakening, which literally was like the game that kind of brought the Fire Emblem series back from the brink of death, then you might want to go ahead and pick this up as well. And speaking of Fire Emblem, I think the biggest main draw I want to say on this is the fact that Fire Emblem Fates. Now, before you go ahead and jump on me though, Fire Emblem Fates is not necessarily a bad game. Maybe you just misunderstood the game. Let me just leave that out there for you though. But anyway, Fire Emblem Fates is a game. It's a game, all right. And you have the Birthright, the Conquest, as well as the Revelation arcs and whatnot though, in terms of your story and whatnot though. Birthright and Conquest, you can pick those up physically if you want. They're not too bad in terms of the secondary market. They're roughly at still that $40 MSRP that was originally sold for though. But that Revelation route, if you have any aspiration of seeing that route, which kind of puts together the whole revelation, or not the whole revelation, the whole entire story for Fire Emblem Fates, I would highly recommend you picking that up because that is a big part of the game. And the fact that once the eShop actually goes down, you just won't have access to being able to play that, at least in an easy, legal manner anymore though. And that's just really gonna suck though. And there's no way, obviously, to have it any other way except for if you get Fire Emblem Fates physically, which is the special edition, which thankfully I managed to get. Yes, it might have cost me an arm and a leg, but I did manage to get that game, so that way I'm covered. But maybe most other people aren't necessarily covered, especially if you're new to the Fire Emblem series and you're trying to go back and play a lot of these games though. So I did want to give you that little bit of a warning. Honestly, I feel like some of the stuff might already shut down a little bit early for those that might be in Europe. You might have to double check on that one though, but hopefully you're still able to get this game. Now that I got most of those regular 3DS games out of the way though, there's a few more I want to mention on the virtual console side before I begin to wrap things up though. And I was looking through my list and I was like, honestly, there was a lot of games that were either Game Boy or something like that, or like Super Nintendo if you happen to have a new Nintendo 3DS, or just, you know, original NES. And I was like, we have a lot of these games already on the Switch Online server. So I was like, that trimmed a lot of the fat out though. But I think a few that I wanted to mention real quick, one of them being Dragon Quest Wars, which was technically a DSiWare, which DSiWare is also going as well though. And if you have, and technically this game was actually made by Intelligent Systems though, so if you like Dragon Quest and you also like tactical RPGs as well though, you might as well pick this one up. It's interesting how different monsters get to move a certain way out on the field, have different attacks and stuff like that. It's a very interesting, unique spin in terms of Dragon Quest right there. So I would recommend that if you have any interest with Dragon Quest as well as just being a strategy RPG fan. Next up, and this is the last thing I'll say on Pokemon, is Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, and Silver. But then I was like, wait a minute. You know, we got the, Pokemon Day coming up here in literally, it's like what, February 27th of every single year. And now that we have the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance consoles over there on the Switch now, it's highly likely they might announce Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal over there on the Game Boy. Who knows? They might announce Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald or something. Like, I might be reporting about this in the podcast here very soon. And even if not then, I feel like it will happen at some point though. But if you wanted to own these games for yourself and not have to have it tied to a subscription service, you might as well go ahead and pick these up now, because this is probably might be like one of the last and easiest ways for you to own your own physical legal copy of these games right here. So that's one I would recommend right there. And lastly, I would say to get on this list is Donkey Kong 94, which honestly is a really nice Game Boy game. I say it's one of probably the cream of the crop, that and like the 6 golden coins over there though. I feel like Donkey Kong 94 will probably get added to the Switch Online service though, but if you wanted to own it for yourself, one of the cream of the crops of the Game Boy generation right there, I would say go ahead and grab it right now, because it might be the last time you might be able to own it for yourself. So that is all the games I have to recommend to y'all in terms of the games for 3DS and Wii U that I would highly recommend you going through and picking up as my MegaZardX Selects, whether it's natively on both those two systems or the virtual console for those two respective systems though. So yeah, so those are my selects though. Now that we made it all the way to the tail end of this video, let's go ahead and talk about how to still add funds to your eShop accounts, because As it stands now, it is a little tricky to do it because you can't even go in there and purchase it with your debit card or credit cards anymore. That's out the window. As well as even if you had an eShop card physically in your hand, you're trying to type it into the eShop system itself, it will not let you do that on the 3DS or Wii U though. However, there is a workaround way. First, you need to have a Nintendo Switch. If you don't have a Nintendo Switch, this is not going to work for you, and it is going to be a little bit unfortunate though. But if you do have a Switch, for all my people out there, make sure to go into Nintendo's website itself and make sure you link your Nintendo account and create a shared wallet. So connect your Nintendo account along with your 3DS and Wii U ones and link them all up so that way they're operating off of a shared wallet. That's what you really want to do right there. Once you have the shared wallet, and you can look it up on Google and see it on Nintendo's website how to basically set up a shared wallet. Once you have that shared wallet established, all you have to do is get those same eShop codes. You know, you can buy them off of Amazon or whatnot though. Maybe you might be able to still walk into a store and actually purchase it that way. Whatever way you want to do it. Get the eShop code, add it into either the Nintendo website itself or on your Nintendo Switch itself. Once it's added into your wallet like that, it's shared. So that means if you take a $70 eShop card and plug it into the Nintendo Switch eShop thing, so that way in your wallet says $70, you can boot up your 3DS or boot up your Wii U and it's still gonna say you have $70 in your account. So luckily that is your workaround way to still be able to buy stuff off the eShop. It's the only way how you're gonna be able to do it. At least now for the last little bit of this month. And at least if you do it this way, don't feel bad if there's like $5 or something like that left into your account, because if that is, I mean, those accounts shut down though, but it's a shared wallet, so that $5 will still be sitting in your Switch account and you can use that to pick up any Switch game or DLC or whatever you want to pick up with. So yeah, that is the workaround way for it though. Now, that's basically going to conclude it in terms of my overall video on what games you should be able to pick up for the 3DS as well as the Wii U. Some games that I would select as my MegaZardX Selects though. But it's really hard to go through and talk about every single game that's on the eShop for these two respective systems though. And this was more games that I wanted to either bring to everybody's attention or two games that really resonated with me though. But down in the comment section down below, make sure to go ahead and, you know, throw out some of your favorite 3DS or Wii U games, whether they're natively on those systems or if it's in the virtual console as well though. Help everybody out. Just recommend some stuff there though. Anything that I might have not potentially had even on my list though. But yeah, that's basically gonna do it in terms of this video though. So if you really like it, make sure to go ahead and hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talk about and discussing in the foreseeable future though. So remember y'all, until whatever video I make next, see y'all.